Hey everyone, Brent here from Goalorious. Today I'm super excited to be talking about io.net with the CEO, Tori Green. Hey Tori, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So I don't do interviews very often. That's what I was actually saying to you. But when I see a project that definitely gets me excited, I get, the urge to talk to someone from the team. So it's awesome that you took the time. I know you're a busy schedule to come talk to me and my community. So first of all, I want to say thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
For those who don't know what io.net is, maybe we could start a little bit about you, your background, what io.net is about, and then kind of go from there.
Sure. So, yeah, I think it's helpful to start with my background, how I got into ionet. Had a pretty traditional background, investment banking, private equity, corporate strategy, venture capital. As a VC, started off more as an investing partner, but then became more of an operating partner. So I was taking on like COO, CRO, CFO roles, portfolio companies. Stable job, but I knew I wanted more. And it was in 2016 that I was first introduced to crypto and immediately fell in love with technology. I'm sure, like most people here, I realized it was like decentralized networks were the most elegant technology that's been invented in the past 100 years. Now, even though I was very interested in it and I really wanted to get into the space, I was hesitant. And the reason for that is that I felt like most crypto projects were effectively solutions looking for problems. That is, they really didn't have a lot of demand. This all changed around 2019 when I became COO of one of our portfolio companies, which was a machine learning fintech. And working in the AI space, I got to really understand some of the different challenges facing the space, most notably the immense shortage of compute. And this led to a realization that became an obsession. That decentralized networks were not only the best way to solve this problem, but perhaps the only way. And there was really no turning back after that. And that's what eventually led to the creation of ionet. And don't get me wrong, like it hasn't been an easy journey. There were a lot of naysayers. A lot of people thought the technology didn't work. I think I traveled to 14 countries over the last year. I don't think anyone on the team took a day off. But fortunately, we had great allies with us. We had an amazing slate of investors, and we had a fantastic team. And together, I think we were able to build something really, really special. We raised 40 million from top-tier investors. Our foundation launched a token day one on Binance, and we built the world's largest AI compute DePIN. And that's really why I'm here today. I'm very, very passionate about this, and I want to share more about what we're building with you and your community.
Cool. So you talked about your background, but maybe you could talk a little bit about the team behind io.net. You could talk specifics, you could talk about specific people, or you could talk about like how many members you have, what they focus on, and kind of how you guys are growing and what areas you think you will be focusing on for the near term.
Sure. We have a fantastic team. There are over 80 people across the globe. Some key members. We have Basam Uba, who's our co-founder. Gaurav Sharma is our CTO. Gaurav runs all the tech. He's ex-Binance. He's
cool.
ex-Agoda, Amazon, eBay. Milan Amin, our VP of marketing. Milan comes from Binance as well. Tausif Ahmad. Tausif is just a wizard. He's our VP of Biz Dev, and he's out there getting all these customers. He comes from Amazon as well. Also spent some time in Web3 at Kraken. Hashim Nalbusi, he's sort of our financial whiz. He's our CFO. He comes from Neom, Neom is like a huge VC in the Middle East.
Cool.
And the team is just continuing to grow. We are actively hiring across multiple departments. We're looking for people in revenue. We're looking for people in marketing, product, operations, engineering. You name it, we're probably hiring. And we just made a very key hire. A gentleman named Chris from I don't know if your viewers are familiar with Kareem, but Kareem is like the Uber of the Middle East.
I've heard of
And
it. I've heard of it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and actually, if you've spent any time in the Middle East, it's like much, much better than Uber. But he was the chief information security officer at
Okay.
Kareem. And so huge hire, and he's come on as our VP of SecOps to basically continue to secure the network. So, we already have a phenomenal team, and I'm actually hiring like crazy. I'm doing 15 interviews a day to basically continue to
The job
handpick.
of the CEO. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's
Yeah,
great.
well,
Like, like it means two things. People are super excited. Well, you guys are doing really well that you're doing that, but that people are excited about the opportunity and they say like, hey, like I'm super interested in this. I want to be a part of this movement, or like I recognize that this is a problem. I want to be a part of the solution. I think that's all important.
Well, and that's actually one of the parts I love. And I interview for two reasons. As a CEO, I actually believe that 80% of my job is the way I lead is, it's the Steve Jobs philosophy. I hire the best talent and have them tell me what to do.
Right.
And so that's why I spend most of the time hiring. And the other thing too is, you really need to sell some of the great candidates. It was funny, got on an interview last Friday with a guy, and he was basically like, I kind of like what I've heard about ionet, but like, I'll be candid, just got an offer this morning. They're really pressuring me. And I somehow managed to like change the guy's mind on that call. We had a couple more calls over the weekend, and he ended up accepting the job with ionet Monday. So snatched him out from another protocol. So it's just something I take very seriously, and it can be grueling at times, but it's key if you want to build a giant business.
I mean, like I said, even talking to you for the last, couple of minutes, it's like you probably, and I don't know the specifics of that conversation, but it's like you probably explain how you explained to me and community about what you guys are trying to do, and it's relatively simple, right? And so probably that guy, I don't want to put words in his mouth, probably really clicked in his head, like, yes, this makes a ton of sense. You guys are solving this problem, and it definitely has a huge future. And you guys have, a position that nobody else has that you could, be super successful in the near term and the future, of course. So I would assume that's a big part of what, unless you just threw 10 times more money at him, but I assume that it's like, that is like, and I think those are the problems that you want to solve. Nothing super complex where we have to think about it. It's like, oh yeah, of course, that's a no-brainer. That makes sense.
Well, and my dream for ionet is like, there's this concept called crossing the chasm, right? And what crossing the chasm is whenever a new technology comes out, like 1% of the people are always going to be attracted to that, right? And that's what we call the innovators. And then there's another percent of people that are called the early adopters. And these are people who like aren't necessarily into it because it's a new technology, but they're more into it because it's new and it works. And generally, when you combine early innovators or innovators and early adopters, it's about 20% of the population. Now, growing beyond 20% of the population is really, really hard. It's like, so when you go from these early adopters to the early majority, it's extremely difficult, and that's why they call it the chasm. And if you look at crypto right now, I actually think global ownership is around like 19% or something. So we are at the chasm. I think one of the reasons that it's not more mainstream is, quite frankly, there's not a lot of major use cases, right? Like,
Yeah.
DeFi, amazing, but like, it's largely used for developing countries. It's used for remittances. It's a lot of like internal stuff going on. But my dream for ionet is, I think that we are using decentralized networks to solve a true problem. And as we do this, my hope is that we can actually penetrate the early majority. And so we can be one of the first crypto projects to cross the chasm.
You recently released the state of the network. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that and kind of, what came about.
Sure. So the state of the network is effectively our business roadmap. So our long-term goal is to displace Amazon as the leading provider in a $2.5 trillion market. And, when most people hear that, they're like, oh yeah, right. It's audacious. I get that. But once you understand the dynamics of decentralized computing and why it is so much better, you can start to see how this can be possible. And what the state of the network does is it really lays out an exact roadmap to do this. And spoiler alert, while the solution isn't easy, it's relatively simple. It's build a business that is better than AWS, GCP, or Azure. How do you do that? There's a couple different ways. You drive revenue growth. We, as a decentralized network, we have an inherent cost advantage, and so we're going to continue to use that to steal share from the incumbents. Number two is we maintain an enterprise-grade platform. In order to compete, we have to be able to match or exceed the level of service offered by those guys, albeit at a much lower cost. Third is we leverage our community. Community in Web3 can really be a key source of competitive advantage. You don't see this in Web2, but by involving the community in decision making, you can be more innovative, you can stay more agile. And then four, our fourth sort of pillar of success is continue to build a world-class team. Right now, we're hiring for multiple positions. And I'm talking to people at AWS, CoreWeave, Lambda Labs, RunPod. We want to take their best, maybe the ones that are a bit disenchanted by the direction the industry is going, have them come on and bring their playbook. And that's what the State of the Union is about. But I would highly say the State of the Network. Sorry, I would highly recommend that everyone check it out on their own.
Yeah, definitely will put the links and things like that so people can check that out. Yeah, I think what you said, I think is really important. The team seems to be like, a core pillar, especially in the market that we're in now. When I talk to my community, rather than focusing on like token and token price, which is of course important, but it's like you're really investing into the people and the team behind the project. And do you believe not only the project, but the people, being involved in it? And so that's why I thought it was good that you started with, hey, this is who I am. This is why it brought me to this project, because it really shows that you have this level of commitment and understanding, and you really want to help solve these problems. I think that's really important. And prices and tokens will always go up and down, and things will change. But the team, if they're fundamentally driving towards a specific goal, I think that's important. So,
100%.
Yeah. And so again, we've talked a lot about like the solution that you're building and solving a problem. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what that problem is. And I know you touched on it a little bit. And what made you realize that, hey, this is a problem and you want to solve for it, and kind of the things that io.net is doing to solve
Sure.
that.
So let's sort of step back and ask, what is ionet, right? For someone that's maybe not familiar with it. I think the best way to describe ionet is as an Airbnb of GPUs. Now,
That's good. I understand. I'm on board. Yes.
What does that mean, and why is that needed? You have to sort of understand what's going on in the compute market. AI has really been a game changer. We all know that apps like ChatGPT were the fastest ever to 100 million, like significantly faster than older generation apps. It's taken the world by storm, but there's really sort of a dark side to AI that people don't see. It is just enormously compute hungry. The processing requirements to build an AI app are doubling every 3.4 months. So that's 10x every 18 months and 100 times every 3 years. Unfortunately, the current cloud is simply not able, it's just not designed to handle this. These cloud providers like AWS, GCP, Azure, they face compute shortages. It's a pain to get new data centers built. They have to find construction crews, they have to permit, and they just face onerous CapEx requirements in general. And so this leads to multiple problems for consumers. It leads to longer wait times for getting GPUs. It leads to less availability, and perhaps worse, it leads to really high costs. And I've actually run across seed stage startups. So this is a seed stage company that are spending $700,000 per month to build their AI. That's per month. And obviously that's just not sustainable. And that's where decentralized networks like IONET come in. As I mentioned, we are like an Airbnb in compute. So what we're doing is we're basically aggregating underutilized supply from across the world into a single network. And there's a lot of underutilized supply. There are thousands of data centers in the US alone that are running at 12 to 18% capacity. Most consumer devices, I mean, your laptop right now has a GPU, they can tap into the network. And I think in several years, mobile devices may be able to tap into. And when you build this sort of global decentralized network, a lot of really cool things start to happen. First, you can access a sort of unlimited supply of compute. Second, it's just much more scalable. Third, in many cases, it can be higher performance. Fourth, it's censorship resistant. And perhaps most importantly, it can be significantly cheaper, like 50 to 70 to 80% cheaper than the traditional cloud. And it's because of this that not only do I believe that decentralized networks are better than the centralized alternative, but I actually think they're the only way we can solve the problems of AI growth.
Yeah, a couple of points. Yes, you know, I probably have laptops that are sitting here doing nothing. I have a 3070 in my laptop, and then even my main desktop, I have a 3090, which is I don't use it very often. But so yes, there's definitely you know, GPUs out there that could be utilized. And yeah, I totally agree with you too. That's how the current state now, but how things are moving in the future and our phones, it's, you know, there's definitely could be a lot of possibilities. So definitely agree with you on that point as well. Yes, and I'm with the growth of AI. I've tried to set up even something locally on my machine, like Stable Diffusion, things like that, and it still like runs super slow. And I've tried to use like online, like even image or video generation, and it just either takes forever, or
Yeah.
it's like a paid, like I'm like, why am I paying like, you know, $50 to like generate like, you know, 10 images like that? Because the fact that it's probably costing them even more to do. So I agree with you with that, that it's just it's definitely, I definitely see the problem, and doing it now, especially everyone is trying to get involved in it, whether they're company or person, startup, whatever. I think that there's definitely, as a user, I definitely see the need for that. And like I said, you guys are providing a lot of different avenues to kind of you know, be a foundational piece of kind of that future. So I think it makes sense.
100%.
And you guys offer like different like products, like the worker, like then there's like the worker, and then also like the cloud. And I think your cloud piece, I think like makes a lot of sense. I think you guys run like a 4090 or something like that, correct?
Yeah. So the cloud is it is a network. So the cloud is for engineers looking to do machine learning jobs, and then the worker is for GPUs looking to plug into the network.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Got it. Okay. Yeah. So again, there's different ways to be involved with what you're doing, and like I said, I think everyone, whether they know it or not, could you know, be a part of the network. So cool. I know you just recently stepped. How long has it been since you've been the CEO of
3 months.
3 months. Been a probably very busy 3 months for you. But I know that this, just even speaking with you today for the past 10, 15 minutes, that this is definitely a passion of yours. You talked about your previous experience. What do you think about the previous, I know you obviously have tons of experience, but what do you think specifically made you, you know, an important hire for IO.net for the future, and like what can you use for your leadership skills to help kind of push IO.net towards you know, the next couple of phases, which is obviously super crucial through the company, for the company.
Sure. So I've been the CEO for 3 months, but yeah, I'm a co-founder, so I've been with the company since the beginning. You know, I've been here, oh man, probably really since the company, like a little after founding, I joined. But I've been running the, you know, I ran the fundraise, I ran the sales team, I ran the marketing team, and so like it was a pretty seamless transition. You know, I think there are a couple of skills in my background that do make me a good fit for this role. The first is that, you know, I've been an operator for the past 15 years. I was a co-founder and COO of a digital publisher a long time ago. Even as a VC, most of my work has been in like COO, CMO, CRO type roles. And so, I've been doing this for a while. Second, obviously have a very deep background in crypto. When I got into the space in 2016, I kind of threw myself in head first. Wrote a lot on it. You can check my Medium. I even actually wrote a book.
Oh, cool. I'll definitely link it. I'll definitely link it. And yeah.
And then third is my background in AI. I was the COO for several years of a machine learning fintech. And like I said, the three of these things coming together, I think may have been fate, right? It's like the understanding of the problems facing AI, how crypto could solve that, and just the knowledge. I've built dozens of businesses. So all that coming together, I think it was a perfect fit to transition into this role.
Yeah, I think that's great where you're already involved in the company and they're like, hey, we have what we need, and they like acknowledge that the need that they had, and they said, hey, Tori would be in the best position to help get us to the next level. And I think that's awesome with all those different pillars that you have. And I think that made sense. Obviously, I didn't want to make it seem like an interview question. It was just more of like,
Did I get the job?
Yes, of course. I just think it's really important because of the fact that, there's so much focus in AI, and just the fact that you already have that experience. There's just not a ton of people with experience and all those things that you said, right? Like AI, deeply involved in crypto, understanding the issues. And I think, you're well positioned to help the company in so many different assets. So it's kind of like why I was interested. I asked, yeah.
And I'm also fortunate to have a very, very strong team behind me.
Yeah, and I think and I was looking at your team and advisors and things like that, and I think that's great. Like I always said, I think the projects are, of course, the idea and things like that, but if you have a smart team that's really trying to drive towards something, I think that's the most important. You're investing in the team and putting your time and effort into that. So maybe you could tell my community. I know you're a busy guy. What they can do today to kind of stay involved or learn about it, whether that's something as simple as just follow us on Twitter or X and things like that, or check out the website. If there's anything specific that you would want them to do, or maybe like, hey, do you like for them to look to see how they can participate, but anything like that, just so that we could kind of think on it.
Sure. So I think the first thing is, if you want to learn more about how the product works, go to the website. It's like mind-blowingly easy to create a cluster. It was funny on a lot of these early VC pitches I had when I was raising capital. I'd go through the pitch, and then at the end I'd show them a demo, and they're like, "Dude, you got to start with the demo," because when someone sees how easy it is to create a cluster, it's just mind-blowing. Similarly, maybe go on and try to upload your GPU as a worker. And so, if you want to learn about the product, that's the best way. If you want to learn more about the company and where we're going, as I mentioned, I think the state of the network provides a lot of that information. And if you want to learn more about the community, there's obviously, we have our Twitter, and we also have a very, very robust Discord. We have support in over 25 languages. And so I would highly recommend anyone check those out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely put all those links in the description. But I appreciate that. So this is the last question, and I always ask this question to all my guests, and sometimes I feel like hopefully it's not a spoiler or anything. Feel free to share with whatever you want to. I'm not trying to pry information from you, even though I am. But where do you think this project is going to be today, I guess, a year from now, 5 years from now? Like, where do you envision this to be? Obviously, you said some things about like Amazon and things like that, and said some other names, but where's your vision for this, like, long term? I know you've talked about the sales network and things like that, but I'm just kind of interested to, what is the overall, not an easy question, overarching goal, but again, feel free to share with whatever you feel comfortable with.
So I think in terms of a year down the road, 5 years, 10 years down the road, and let's say the short to medium term, a lot of that's in the state of the network. We're talking about like increasing revenue, maintaining enterprise grade service, all those types of things. And eventually sort of competing with and stealing share in the cloud computing market. But I think in the really long term, there's even potentially a much more interesting opportunity. And that is to effectively build the infrastructure for decentralized AI. What do I mean by this? Well, to understand, you have to kind of understand how the AI industry works today. And there's basically three different components required to make an AI. First, you need, obviously, data. Second, you're going to need models. And third, you're going to need compute. Now, if you look at a company like Google, they basically own all three of those. They obviously own all of our data. They have the money to hire the best data scientists in the world to build the models. And they also have the money to buy, to build these huge data centers with like hundreds to thousands of H100s. The problem with this is it creates a vicious cycle, right? Google uses that to build AI. And as we've seen, the AI is highly biased, highly censored. You know, you can sort of go online and hear all these horror stories, but they make money from that, and then it just makes the cycle go again and again. And, you know, I personally don't want to live in a world where the most powerful technology perhaps ever is controlled by a handful of companies. And I think that's why it's imperative that we build this decentralized AI ecosystem. And that's really what ionet is working on. You know, like, we're not replacing AWS just to replace AWS. We want to do that so we can at least attack one of these pillars of the AI ecosystem, right? We want to decentralize the compute layer. And if we're successful in this, we can move to other layers, right? Like, we're already starting to think about building a decentralized model marketplace. Imagine like a decentralized Hugging Face. And then there's a lot of great players doing data, like Grass is doing decentralized data. Maybe we can partner with someone like them, or maybe we can build our own solution. But I can see a world one day where we have a fully decentralized AI ecosystem, completely free from censorship, that's controlled by a centralized token like IO.
Makes sense. And yeah, I think what you're saying with like working with all these different partners already, I think makes a ton of sense. Like, you know, make yourself valuable and useful, and then people want to work with you. I think that's you know, obviously a great strategy. And all the things that you say is, yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think that there's a need for this. And I think you guys are you know, way ahead of the curve from everyone else, and really thinking about, and I think that's how, you know, those companies, you know, like AI specific companies like ChatGPT and OpenAI, you know, has done well. So they were kind of first to, like, you know, okay, this is what we need to solve. And I think you guys are doing a lot of things, obviously from the crypto side, to using the technology to make sure that, you know, that you guys are making a big impact. So yeah, definitely excited about. And again, I appreciate you sharing all that and your vision. I think that's really exciting. I appreciate you taking the time today to kind of walk through who you are, what io.net's about, and in the future. And then, like you said previously, if anyone is interested, I'll put the link in the description for the website, the Discord, and, you know, lots of ways to learn more about io.net and kind of stay in the loop. But Tori, I appreciate the time today.
Thank you, sir. I very much appreciate being on.
Cool. Definitely we'll have to catch up in the future. What's going on? I assume in the next 6 months, there'll be a lot of great things going on. So for you guys, community, definitely give them a follow. But thanks for watching.
Yeah, and
Guys.
continue to check out the website, because a lot of our data is on there. So you can continue to see the growth of the network and join one of these channels and join the team.
Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely shout out the website, things like that. Lots of great information. But thanks, guys. Talk to you guys later.